Good evening, everybody. These are your BYU-Idaho radio evening headlines for Thursday, December 12th, 2024. I'm Chandler Guadagnine. The Idaho Department of Corrections has launched a serious incident review into how a suspected killer was placed into a low-security work camp in St. Anthony, a work camp he escaped from last week and is now accused of committing more crimes before he was rearrested in Pocatello. EastIdahoNews.com reports that 33-year-old Kevin Nicholas Kinsel of Twin Falls is charged with killing an 84-year-old from Jerome in 2023. He also has various other charges, including battery on a correctional officer, burglary, and grand theft. It's unclear when he was transferred to St. Anthony's work camp, which is described as a 400-bed minimum security facility for men who gives inmates opportunities for full-time constructive paid employment with government agencies, nonprofit organizations, and private employers. After escaping the work camp, Kinsel was spotted in Idaho Falls and is believed to have tried to steal a car and is accused of stealing a gun from a pawn shop. He was later arrested without incident in Pocatello. He now faces more charges. There's a lot that goes into being a teacher, and BYU-Idaho is helping to teach the next generation of educators. Austin Pace explains.
BYU-Idaho has so many different resources for students to jump right into their field of study. For education students, student teaching resources are everywhere, starting with teaching practicums. Ellery Killian, a junior at BYU-Idaho studying elementary education, is in her literacy practicum, the second of the 4 different levels of student teaching. She says being in the classroom has helped her realize that teaching is much harder than it seems.
So when I went into the school starting off, I was like, this will be easy. I'll just prep my lesson head to toe, get it all done, and then just go in, teach it, and be done. But when you go in, it changes completely. Like kids, they talk, they like to run around, they don't like to sit still. So you have to find ways to motivate them to do the lesson that we're doing. So that was a big change when I went into the classrooms.
But she says she has found ways to make it easier by relating to the individual students.
I found that if you relate to the students and find things that they like to do, the lessons become more entertaining and they like to listen to you more.
Other BYU-Idaho education students, Savannah Howell, Ashton Birch, and Ariana Libertor, said having a passion for teaching is crucial for a successful semester of teaching in schools.
I have a little brother with autism, and I grew up volunteering for Special Olympics because of him and involved with that kind of crowd, and I loved it. And I figured special education, that would help me work with kids with special needs.
I realized that I really enjoyed working with kids and that I felt like teaching was a way that I could make an impact with kids.
Just being able to help kids and just be with them and help guide them in their futures is something that really drew me to it.
Howell says that understanding each student and their individual needs has helped her to continue to love education, even through the rough times.
It's been so cool to see that with every student, as you come to understand them, you can really help them and help them to progress and help them to learn.
Birch says BYU-Idaho has so many specific opportunities for education students in each practicum they take teaching in schools.
They meet with the principals often with those schools and take a look at your minor and your major and say, where can we put this student where they will have the most beneficial time and learning experience? And so I know that I was matched into kindergarten because my minor was literacy and it's about reading.
Libertor said she had similar experiences.
BYU-Idaho does a great job at trying to give their practicum students as many resources and opportunities as possible to succeed in their practicum, as well as the mentor teachers.
For the full interview, search for BYU-Idaho Radio on your favorite podcast app. For BYU-Idaho Radio, I'm Austin Pace.
A prominent Utah historical figure has found a new home in Washington, D.C. A bronze statue of significant Utahn Martha Hughes Cannon was unveiled during a ceremony yesterday at Emancipation Hall in Washington, D.C. Cannon lived from 1857 to 1932. In her 75 years of life, she was a wife, mother, physician, and suffragist. The Latter-day Saint woman became the first female state senator when she was elected in 1896. During her service in the state Senate, Cannon made a push for better public health in Utah. She sponsored important sanitation laws and helped create Utah's first Board of Health. Several leaders of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints were on hand for the ceremony, including Elder Gary E. Stevenson of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles, Elder Matthew S. Holland of the 70, and Relief Society General President Camille N. Johnson. President Johnson shared what Cannon means to the Beehive State.
She just represents Utah and the women of Utah so beautifully. So I was honored to have the opportunity to say the opening prayer at that unveiling ceremony.
Each state is allowed to have 2 statues in the National Statuary Hall collection. Utah's other statue on Capitol Hill is of Brigham Young. Thanks for taking us with you tonight. These have been your evening headlines for December 12th, 2024. We've, of course, got more great content for you anytime you want it. Just search for BYU-Idaho Radio on your favorite podcast app. You can also ask your smart speaker to play KBYI 94.3 FM. We're also online. Head on over to byui.edu/radio to listen from there. I'm Chandler Guadagnine, and this is BYU-Idaho Radio.